Welcome to A Fresh Perspective. Reviewing media old and new, there's got to be something for everyone. We're introducing our series, New Kid on the Block, where we review new movies, TV, anime, and video games. Today we'll be reviewing the new film, Passengers, starring Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, directed by Morten Tyldum and produced by Columbia Pictures. Hey audience, it's your host Gus here.
And Zach.
And we're here to talk with you about the film Passengers. We saw it last night, and what did you think?
Well, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of things that stood out to me. Firstly, I quite liked how both Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt portrayed their characters. I think for me, when I was watching the film, I didn't feel like I was watching the actors so much as their characters.
Yeah, I was pretty worried about that actually, because you see a lot of films and the actors just play the actors themselves. And Chris Pratt was quite quirky in this movie, but it was toned down. It was really pleasant. It wasn't distracting from the core themes of the film. And Jennifer Lawrence she's always pretty brilliant actually.
What did you think about the emotional depth?
Yeah, it had a lot more than I expected, and I don't know if you feel the same way about it, but I thought that it was really brave, and the way that it was promoted didn't really show off that. I felt like it was promoted as a very clean, like white picket fence sort of a movie, and it was actually a movie with a lot of grittiness to it.
Yes, yeah, and quite a bit of realism as well, I'd say. I really enjoyed how the story really incorporated quite a few moral dilemmas in it, and how they actually portrayed that in quite a realistic way.
Yeah, some of the scenes in particular were really, really intense. It wasn't sensationalized either, and it felt like a drama set in space. It didn't feel like a lot of other science fiction films can seem to feel, especially about space journeys. Space journey films are generally a very, very, it's a well-worn genre, and this film was quite refreshing in a way.
It was, and I guess talking about the space genre, I think they use that really well to make it visually quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I found it was really beautiful to look at, and the inside of the spaceship, the set design was really brilliant. I thought it was really nice and clean and pretty unique. It wasn't like groundbreaking or anything, but it was really nice. And the visual in space, there's a scene when Chris Pratt in a spacesuit actually steps out into space and steps off, and I actually felt like a bit of vertigo when he did that.
Yeah, same. When I was watching the trailer, I got quite worried about a few different things I saw. And one thing I was worried about was I was afraid the movie would become quite cliched. So you see sort of the hot Hollywood actor and actress getting together, and that's a little bit cliche, but also you can see that there's some dramatic events happening on the ship. And you would assume then that Chris Pratt's character and Jennifer Lawrence's character would then be working together to solve that issue. My worry was that would become cliched in the sense that neither of them were probably at all trained in anything mechanical or engineering. But I think this film actually got around those sorts of cliches and issues really well.
Yeah.
Firstly, this isn't really a spoiler because it comes up quite early, is that Chris Pratt's character, Jim Preston, comes from an engineering background.
Yeah.
So I think that solves a lot of the issues of this, potential issues that could come up in this film. And then, I mean, I don't really want to get into spoilers here.
We don't want to spoil it.
But they do justify how they have the sort of the hot female and male actors in the film together.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's not like they got lucky. It's a very interesting point, actually. We're going to talk about some of the cons of the film, potentially, but I'll say a caveat that we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here because Zach and I really love the film. We don't really have that many problems with it. Some of these problems will come from the trailer and expectations. I know we should judge the film for what it is, but as I said, we literally struggled to find anything wrong with the film.
Yeah, so let's talk about the trailer for a little bit. So when I first watched it, I was excited to see the film just because I like that genre of film.
Same.
But I felt like the trailer almost let the film down a little bit, as in I still knew I wanted to watch it, but after seeing the trailer, I was a little bit less excited about it.
Yeah, well, when I first saw the film poster and like the thumbnail on YouTube for the trailer, I was so not feeling it. I'm like, this is a movie working 100% off of star power, which it is. But when I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, it's gone up a little bit in my expectations, but not a lot because it's still quite that sort of a film. I feel like the trailer gave away a lot of stuff and also set really false expectations for the film. The things I didn't like about the film from the trailer were actually not really the tone the film set. It was only specific scenes that had a certain theme. So there's all these lovey-dovey scenes in the trailer, and in the film, those are only part of the film. The film deals with the relationship in a really mature and interesting way, not like Twilight or any of that crap. It's not just about people being in love and being happy all the bloody time.
Yeah, I think that tonally as well, the trailer showed the movie to be kind of spooky and intense. And while it was intense, I think it did lack that spooky feeling.
Yeah, that's a potential con. I feel like you could, if you were wanting to see like this vast conspiracy on this spaceship. I don't want to spoil it, but it's not a conspiracy film. It's not about that.
And watching the trailer, actually, I was really excited to see how they portrayed Michael Sheen's character Arthur the robot. 'Cause
Yeah.
it looked like it was a bit of a hearkening to The Shining.
Yeah, it did. And those scenes in the trailer aren't lies. They are in the film, but they're much more subdued. They're not these big, epic moments of the film. They're more like things that are happening alongside the rest of the plot. Also, another problem you could have is you could look at this film and think what I thought was it's two hot, white, rich movie stars in this movie. You don't see Jim and Aurora, you see Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, obviously. But like that's actually not a problem because the film doesn't have that. But I guess if you wanted that, you could be annoyed, you could consider the film fluff to a certain extent because it is a romance film, but I don't think it's fluff. I think it's quite thoughtful. Or you could alternately be disappointed because it's not fluff and you wanted to see a chick flick in space.
Yeah. I guess another thing which, with any sci-fi movie, people are going to bring up as a potential issue, but which I don't find as an issue, are the potential scientific inaccuracies.
Yeah.
So again, I can't go too into depth here without really giving you spoilers.
But in terms of the leeway you give to sci-fi films in general, you have to give this one a lot less because it doesn't try to be anything ridiculously sensational or grandiose. It's quite humble in what is happening in the overall plot, that it gives it more time to have meaningful drama and to like just use the events to a realistic extent. Like if you're on a plane, you don't need terrorists or snakes on a plane for it to be dramatic flight, you know? A film that's more subdued can then use those issues to affect the characters in a realistic way. Another thing you'll know is if you've read any of the reviews and have had the film spoiled for you to a certain extent, or even if you haven't, one of our characters does something quite hard to stomach, and some would consider it unforgivable. A lot of the reviews I read were saying negative things about this film, and I may do another video about this at a later stage. They were saying this character makes this film unpleasant, it gives it dark undertones. And that is potentially something that could put you off the film. But if those critics think for a moment that the film didn't do this intentionally, they're dead wrong. The film uses this drama because it is not a fluff film. It's a film about the darkness in human relationships and the complexity of them, and it's not about black and white. It's about people struggling in a dark situation.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Also, harkening back to the actors themselves, whilst I really liked how Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence portrayed their characters, for me, and this might be more of a personal thing, I didn't particularly like the way Lawrence Fishburne portrayed his character. Maybe that wasn't so much his fault as a scripting fault, but I feel like he just wasn't given enough action or enough time in the film for us to actually feel particularly emotionally attached to him.
Yeah, you're trying not to spoil things, but he didn't have the emotional depth. It was interesting to see how the other characters interacted with him, but he wasn't that interesting himself. And I don't think it's Lawrence's fault. I just think it's just unfortunate. I didn't agree with you until you point out your reasons why, and now I kind of do agree with you. It didn't bother me as much as I think it bothered you, though. I guess the last thing is also the ending music. It felt like it was kind of jarring because it's pretty upbeat techno stuff, and it just, boom, just comes in right at the end. And it's okay. It doesn't take away from the film, but it certainly doesn't build it up. It suits the material, but it doesn't elevate it. Anyway, in closing, Isaac, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Well, if I were to just say a one-sentence spiel about what I thought about this film, I'd say it was gripping, it was humorous at the right moments, and I think it was actually a fairly fresh take on the Lost in Space sci-fi movie, due, I think, mostly to its deep focus on the human emotions and the fairly believable storyline.
Yeah, a lot of other great sci-fi films like Sunshine or whatever, they have the human drama, but it isn't about the human drama. If I was going to say anything, I'd say it's a really fun film, actually. But it isn't afraid of the depth of its subject matter. A lot of films would try to like keep it light and fluffy the whole way through, and then still try and have the stakes. This film knows the stakes are serious, and it makes the film serious when it needs to be. I'd recommend this to anyone who loves science fiction films, or to anyone who loves drama films. If you were expecting a chick flick with J. Law and Chris Pratt, though, I mean, it still delivers on that point, I guess. They're naked in some scenes, kind of. Alright, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, Zach. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like, really appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more videos on all sorts of movies and media. I'll try to upload new content as frequently as possible. Ciao for now.